Right, welcome to Ford Renovations, and on today's episode we are going to be trying to sort out how to fix a curtain hole to lath and plaster, because obviously a lot of people struggle to fit lath and plaster fixings, whether it's like a hollow wall or whether it's a brick wall. But either way, well, we're going to show a little video of how I usually overcome it. Been good so far, and yeah, let's fix it.
Make the ground shake.
Right, slightly different video than usual, like a little talk over thing. Go through with it with you guys, what we do, what I'm doing here, just getting all my tools out ready for the routing, because on this lath and plaster we're routing the edges over to match the interior of the house. They've got like quite a lot of old style dado rails and skirting with quite a large profile, and yeah, because it's quite an old cottage, I didn't really want to just put something quite modern up there, so I went and got this 8-foot bit of pine from Mid Sussex Timbers, routed it over the edges, obviously clamping it down. You've got to make sure it's secure as you're routing, because if you don't have a solid surface to work on, really, I mean, here it's probably a bit too long to be doing it, but we'll get there. Yeah, so I changed the route a bit than what you might have saw earlier to a kind of like a bullnose router bit. It's got a curved edge with a top shoulder and with a bearing on the bottom, and that follows the straight line of the timber at the bottom and trims the top just like that. And I set this one deeper than what a lot of people might normally use it for, because I like the shoulder that it gave on the effect as we come over. And once this little shot's finished, there we go. And I thought that all the way around, hung up on the wall, would kind of tie in a bit better with what the home decor already has. So so yeah, a couple of snaps of me doing some planing, a couple of snaps of me routering these edges, and I'll get back to you in a second. On the edge here, because we're coming on the in grain, I couldn't remember which way the blade was spinning, so I just very eased it in to make sure I kind of go with the grain rather than against it. Otherwise it might burst out a little bit of the timber. And on the edges I went round the corners first into the centre and just went very slowly. So then, so you know, try and be as careful with it as I can to get a good look, and it turned out okay. Just needs a little bit of the sand at the top to get rid of those splinters, and yeah, this is a nice shot. I was quite happy with this. I did try and do a bit of slow-mo, but it didn't work. But there we go. And again, this is the same on the other end. Just route it over, taking my time, just easing it in carefully to see how it reacts and make sure I do it as safely as possible, really. Well, we've got a little bit of time to talk. If you haven't already, maybe like the page, subscribe. I'll be doing some more content. I do quite enjoy doing this, when I get the chance anyway. Do quite a lot of bathrooms and that, so there's a huge variety of things that I can do videos about. It's just finding the imagination to video it and you know, have fun with it. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and all that jazz, so you don't miss any more content. Here, just sanding it down, smoothing it off, just to clean up the edges, try and get some of them burn marks away. I mean, I left it natural in case the customer wanted to like prime it and paint it to go with the rest of the room, but I left it like that in case they wanted to keep the look. I did make sure to tell them at the end though to either put some sort of protective layer over it, like a lacquer or some polyurethane or something. But it gives them their choice then, doesn't it? And here, all I'm doing is I'm drilling holes prior to installation. Just seems to be a bit easier, making sure you get all the fixings and that done first. So I measured, I think it was 20 mil in from the top and bottom and 50 mil in from the sides. Gonna do about 8 fixings on this one. And we're gonna use these pilot hole and countersink bits that I picked up from Aldi or Lidl, one of the two. I think they're only a couple of quid, so I thought, you know, pick them up, see how we get on. I like the counter bit that works with it. I'm not too keen about the drill bits. The drill bits are pretty naff. They don't seem to drill in smoothly at the beginning, not like the DeWalt set bit that I've got. But the counter bit's quite nice. And I think you can set the depth. Like here, it's okay. Like that's how I should have done all of them. But because I'd already done one, I'd set them deeper. And if they also wanted to, they could get some dowels, put a bit of glue in there once the screws are in, glue the dowels in the holes and then flush cut them off and sand it down again so that you don't have any screw holes or screw heads showing. But no, I quite like them bits. I'll be using them more often. The smallest one broke though, that's a shame. But this one I think was a 3 mil drill bit, which is plenty enough for most screws. For a pilot hole, gives the screw a little bit of room to breathe when the wood expands and contracts. Also gives a good fixing. Just need to sand off the top because the countersink bits sometimes leave a little bit of hair, a little bit of burrs on the top. Let's clean it all up and it'll be ready for installation. Now it started to rain a little bit outside, so since I have used up most of my tools, got to try and lug them back to the car, shove them all back in. Now it's a bit of a mess in the back because when I left my last job, it was a Friday, so I just threw everything in the car. You know, make sure we get finished. There's a Friday feeling, you know, everyone chucks their tools in the car or the van, whatever they've got. But yeah, definitely need to reorganise how that works before we get there. So once I got all the tools out of the way I didn't need, just had to make sure I got the stuff that I did want, take it upstairs with me. So here's the old rail, that's how it was. It only had 3 fixings into lath and plaster. They just managed to get it stuck up there. They used old timber to kind of like fasten it back, but they couldn't get a good fix in. So what I'm doing here is I'm just measuring it from side to side, make sure it's equal overhang, and then obviously the centre's in the centre. And then I marked it on the right just to make sure I got a reference line for when I put the bracket back up. It's just going to go above that dado rail. It's going to sit on the dado rail because I didn't want it to go up any higher. So obviously you've got to remove the old brackets. Once they're out of the way, I can show you a new tool that I picked up. It was this. You push it in and it sprays a chalk solution into the wall through the hole to show exactly where your holes will line up. used it quite a lot recently. Really good. Recommend getting one, only a couple of pennies. There you go, push push into the countersunk holes.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but it leaves a green mark where this hole should be. There you go, there's a clearer one. There you go, there. Really handy. And for shower screens as well. When you put the profiles up against the tiles. There you go.
There you go.
Right.
Shows you how they work. Really handy. And I've forgotten my other drill.
You have a drill.
And if you don't squeeze the trigger twice before you use it, you know, do you really use tools? That's the question. Because I do it every time. Don't know why, but I just end up doing it. Now I'm screwing through the lathe or the plaster, whichever one it is. And there's some brickwork behind it. Now, the top layer of the lath and plaster is like horsehair sand, very brittle, falls apart in your hand type thing. So you got to make sure you use like 100mm screws or 80mm screws, depends on how far you want to go in. I think I used 100mm screws here because you've got the 20mm for the timber as well. So I drilled 8 holes. I used raw plugs to push them into the brickwork, and for added security as well, even though I know it's not going to go anywhere, I just kind of like to do it. I added a little bit of what's it called? A little bit of adhesive, so some like builder's glue, construction adhesive stuff to the back of the timber. And then laid it up in place, pushed it to sides, put a couple of screws in. And that's not going to be going anywhere now. And effectively, what this does, it just covers a larger area than what you're trying to fix to. And it just means you get a much better fixing. Now, I don't know if you could hear me there, but I always said always drill a pilot hole. But the last thing you want to do when you're halfway through this job is to just screw a screw straight in and then split timber and have to start again. Now these brackets, you screw the top screw in and then you just slide it down into the groove. So the top one's never fully fixed, just as long as it's snug, you can slide it on and off. And it's the bottom one that holds it in place. Pilot hole, what I did earlier. And put the final 3 screws in the bottom for the brackets. And voila! Substantial curtain round. And couldn't help myself. All done.
Make the ground shake.